Hello, everybody. My name is Kristine Reiner. I'm the co-founder of Cash Cow Co-op, and tonight with me is Morgan and Caitlin from the Mindful. Thank you for being here with me, ladies. So tell us a little bit about you, Caitlin.
Well, yeah. Okay. I got my degree in sustainability from USD. And I was their zero waste intern there working towards their recycling program. And I was a compost researcher for Sioux Falls during my time there. And then I went on to become an environmental scientist for the state. And I have always wanted to own a store about lowering your personal waste because, especially where I'm from Pierre, it just seems that it's just really hard to make those switches without ordering online and creating more waste. And when Morgan reached out to me, she was kind of like a blessing for me. She is the perfect business partner, and she really pushed us to start this business. And we get along so well, and I'm very appreciative of her, quite frankly. So
That's awesome. How did you guys meet? Did you meet at school?
we actually didn't. We both have degrees in sustainability, and the program is so small. But yeah, we never met while I was there. She actually got my number from a mutual friend of ours, and she just reached out to me one random night. I think it was last April, right? And
It was two
we're
Aprils ago.
2 Aprils ago. Oh my
Last
God. And
April, I
so,
was pregnant.
yeah.
2 Aprils ago.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, it was 2 Aprils ago now, and which is just, and we randomly met on Zoom and we hit it off almost immediately, and we're like, let's do this. So,
I love that. I love that story. That's so like purposeful. All right,
yeah.
Morgan, can you fill us in on how you got to this point?
Yeah, so I also went to USD and got my degree in sustainability. And then I also have my master's in public health. Before I came to South Dakota and was attending USD, I grew up in upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains. And my family has a dairy farm, and I worked on some other types of farms throughout high school and the beginning of college. And just kind of from my childhood in agriculture and some internships that I had, I was really interested in food and food systems and how we can make our food systems low waste and buying local and all those types of things. And then when I went to USC, I realized that the idea of staying local and lowering our waste goes so far beyond food. It also goes to things that we use every day, like our house decor and our personal care items and those types of things. And so I started kind of doing research about what it looked like to own a refillery and a business that valued having low waste and helping people implement that into their lives. And then I reached out to Caitlin, and we kind of went from there and started the Mindfill.
That is so. I love businesses with purpose and mindfulness. That's your whole name, right? You're being very mindful of your footprint. And as consumers, we
Mhm.
often feel like, okay, we're stuck in South Dakota. What can we do? We're limited by so many options, but it takes an extra effort for us as consumers to be like, okay, I am not gonna just keep in this system of waste. So the Mindfill, I'm so excited. Let's talk about, how did you guys process starting it? How did you decide where your location would be? How did you kind of come up with that since you didn't really know each other very well at the beginning?
Yeah, so can I start and then you can kind of add what you
Yeah.
want? Before we really jump into it, I want to make like
Course,
one
yeah.
clarification for whoever's listening. We're going to refer to the Mindfill, which is like our business, but then if we say the collective, that's the name of our storefront in Pierre. So I just don't want that to
Mhm.
get confusing. Um, two businesses, both ours, and we own the collective with two other people in Pierre. So just putting that clarification out there. So kind of how we got started. Um, we we didn't meet at USD, and then we zoomed and we kind of were like sharing our ideas. Caitlin and I both were like looking into starting a refillery zero waste type of store, but we kind of had the missing puzzle pieces to each other's ideas. She was really focused on the household and the personal care, or you were focused on food. Caitlin
Yeah.
was focused on food. I was focused on personal care. And so we just kind of like had this like puzzle that we were putting together by working together and kind of figuring that out. And then um around December or November, we decided to start doing pop-ups. Our first one was actually in Beersford, South Dakota. And from there, we just kind of started attending different farmers markets, vendor shows, and um, we started looking into storefronts in Sioux Falls, but decided to go with Pier. And now we have the collective. And Caitlin really does much more at the collective because I'm far away. So I'll let her kind of talk about what that looks like now.
Yeah, so we decided on Pier for a couple of different reasons. Um, when we decided to go with the storefront, we also were thinking about like accessibility for people in Pier. It's kind of an isolated area a little bit, so allowing a lot of these women options to a whole different side of personal daily necessities was kind of a big thing, and it's turned out really successful, I would say. We decided to open it up with another local business in town that also kind of had a sustainable concept. They really didn't have a lot of they didn't really focus on sustainability, but I don't think they even realized that they were being sustainable in their business model, which was kind of cool. So everything in the store just about has a sustainable concept to it, whether it's upcycled, reused, repurposed, um, limits your plastic or limits your clothing, like new clothing purchases. So every vendor we have is asked on their application, is there like, well, how are your products being sustainable, or how could you move towards a more sustainable model in your own business? And we find that a lot of women, whether they're just being crafty or having fun, they're actually being sustainable anyway. So it is kind of become a very cute niche store that a lot of people enjoy coming into and seeing a very wide variety of different products that I don't think they were expecting when they were stopping into an old travel agency building. So
And I think we say women because that's the
yeah.
reality of who most of our vendors and our customers are. I think we have one male vendor who sells books about like the history
Oh
of
yeah. Mhm.
And we do get some male customers, but the reality is that 99% of them are women.
Women move the economy. I have
Yes,
such respect for them.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, and it's being a mom now. I definitely was not like the organized type A person. I'm an artist originally, so I was like,
Mhm.
you know, once you start planning and buying for your home and for other people, you really have to think, and if you're gonna spend
Mhm.
so much money on things that are just polluting our environments, why not reuse bottles? Why not go to glass method? Why not, make your life a little bit easier because I don't know about you guys, but my house looks like a recycling facility. Like half of my kitchen is dedicated to cardboard and bottles, and I don't know what to do because my basement is already full of cardboard and bottles.
Same. Oh my gosh, we're doing this Mother's Day event where we are gonna have like jars, um, and people can come in and paint them to make little jar vases for their Mother's Day gifts. And Morgan was like, "How many jars do you have?" And I'm like, "Oh, you mean the 50 that I casually have in my guest room? Feel free to have them." But
For real, that sounds so exciting. I love that. Me, I'm like, I wish I was closer to Pierre, but Pierre does not have a lot to do. So you guys
no.
bringing that to them and just showing, like especially for women, I feel like Sioux Falls is kind of like the shopping destination of our state.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Pierre is missing quite there's a big gap in what there is to do in Pierre, shockingly for the size of the town. It's kind of unfortunate, but I think that's why another reason why we're doing so well and we've been received so happily, I would say. So I'm also very appreciative of that though. So
Yeah. I really do see consumers shifting into being more sustainable and caring more about it. So that's amazing that there's this resource, and so you guys also partnered with another business who is still sustainable as well. What can you share what they do?
Yeah, so they aren't really focused as much on sustainability. Like, I don't think they
yeah.
created their business with sustainability in mind. They refurbish like furniture and old vintage items. And so we were kind of able to partner with them.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
You have like a whole creative area right there.
yeah, they
Awesome.
do a lot for our store. They make our store look very nice and put together. So I very much appreciate that. And I think they also bring in like a whole different group of people that maybe wouldn't have stopped in our store. And then they come in and they're like, oh, actually, this is great. So that's kind of amazing on its own. And we're very appreciative of all that they do on top of everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, you like to think, oh, I can do it all myself, but really, you can't. And
Yeah.
asking for
There's
help
no
can save so much mental time and space. But let's talk more about some of your products. So, the refillery, how did you source? How did you find these vendors? Were you fortunate enough to know enough people, or did they have to come to you?
So for all of our products, we try to follow a few criteria. The first is that we try to keep it as local as possible. This type of business and model is so new in South Dakota that especially when we were first starting, we had to look a little bit wider just because there's not shampoo and conditioner available locally around every corner. So we kind of had to broaden our horizons there, but we tried to have them as local as possible. We tried to source from other small businesses, women owned, and we try the products before we're selling them. And we just really try to do our research on the ingredients and the manufacturing. Our kind of thing is that we try to do the research so that our customers don't have to, and they still know that they're getting sustainable, ethically sourced products. So that kind of goes for all of it, not just the refillery.
That's sorry. I was like looking at Caitlin. I was like, okay, I don't want to cut you off. And then
Yeah,
I
do you have
glitched.
anything
I
else?
personally glitched. Okay. Um, and I just want to pause for a moment, because where my mind went was like, when we're done with this call, can you guys send me some photos so then I can put photos on as we're talking? Because like you said, a lot of people, especially in South Dakota, are not used to this concept. I love it, but I want people to see like, oh, refillery, like you keep your container, you bring it back, you're not paying for
Mhm.
packaging again, just that kind of thing. And I really want to show it because you guys have such a cute setup and it's so pretty and you put so much effort into it. So I want people to
Ah, thank
follow along
you.
with that. But and I mean it is South Dakota, so I'm sure you've gotten a few comments about why you're doing what you're doing. But have you guys had any really, challenges that you want to talk about? And if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Um, just from like an entrepreneurial standpoint, if somebody is interested in doing something similar.
What hasn't been a challenge, Caitlin?
Mm.
We talk
Oh,
all
no
the
kidding.
time about how like we wish that we could tell ourselves 2 years ago, like the road that they were in for. Because
Yeah.
it where we thought we were going 2 years ago to where we are now, and that's only 2 years. Who knows what we're gonna be thinking in 5 or 10? Is there anything particular you want to share, Caitlin?
Well, I mean, like I think we talk about this. We give talks at USD to the Sustainability 101 class, and we always are joking about how we literally had no idea what we were walking into because every little decision requires a discussion or like four more decisions on top of it, and then you'll get the door slammed in your face, and then you'll have to reroute, and then it turned out that was actually like the universe saying that is not what you want to be doing. And so like I'm kind of grateful for a lot of the doors slammed in our face and how we've rerouted. And I'm kind of like looking back, I remember us just being like, what are we going to do? And I'm quite happy with where we're at. So, like when it comes to, I think the funniest one is a lot of the insurance companies that we were trying to get insurance for our company thought we were a distillery instead of a refillery. And so they were like, we cannot insure you. We were like, well, that's okay, but that is not what we're selling. So
Yeah, dispensary. They'd be like, all the banks and the insurance agencies thought we were.
A dispenser,
yeah,
oh god, oh
they
no.
thought we
And
were
I
like everything under the sun but what we were. And we'd have to sit there. Yeah.
So during that time, we,
Sit there and tell them like, no, it's all soaps.
yeah,
non-CBD soaps, like we're not.
during that time, we really nailed down our elevator pitch for what we
Mhm.
were and that type of thing. Um, I think it's funny, Kristine, that you were talking about how you were not type A before having a baby. I was type A long before having a baby. And so I think one of the parts for me was like as our plans were changing. Like there was one time we were on the phone with this bank and like our plans were changing as we're having this conversation and I'm just on my couch crying, muted on the phone. And Caitlin, thank God for her, is like handling this conversation like a champ and I'm just muted having a hard time. So I think
That's because I'm like, I'm like a chronic underthinker. Yeah.
I like that term. I like that term.
Yeah, Morgan's like my chronic overthinker and I'm the chronic underthinker. And so when we like come together in our conversations, she'll have like 7 different pathways of how this very specific situation could go. And I'll be like, how did you even think of that? And so
That
I'm
is
very
the perfect team. Like you need someone who gets the spaces you can't.
yeah. I think we're like, she's everything I'm not. That's what I saw. I'm like,
and kind of going off of like entrepreneurial things, a lot of people we talk to, I don't think recommended going into business with someone that you didn't really know for very long. But I will say in our specific situation, it has worked out tremendously. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I think
I
it's because we like,
always
yeah. Sorry,
I
keep going.
always say, like, you know, people, just consumers to buy your product, they need to be introduced to it 7 times to trust you. And sometimes, as an entrepreneur, the hardest sell is your friends and family. They might be your last customers to ever support you. And so I understand, like, the whole, like, oh, don't get a roommate you don't know, don't go into business with someone you don't know. Well, I've done all those things and they've turned out to enrich in my life. Like, it's the people that you just have a feeling that you know they're on the same page as you.
Yeah, and I think we had like no preconceived notions of who that person was prior. So we were going in to this relationship as business partners. And then our relationship after that kind of blossomed into a friendship, which is nice. And so it was like made out of respect and understanding and a lot of conversation I think you don't go into with a friendship at first. So
Yeah, like
I
before we were even really tight, we were like telling each other about our finances and like our deepest, like we were just really had, you're right, we had to dive deep before the friendship was deep.
yeah.
Well, in some ways, there are some things you just like you don't know if you can share with a friend, right? Like, and so maybe that kind of took it away. But it's like, hey, I'm willing to jump into this much debt with you, stranger. Are you willing to jump into this much debt with me, stranger? Right?
Well, it was literally like I was living in Pierre and we hadn't even started the business yet and I wasn't enjoying my job as much as I thought I would. And I'm like, you know what? I'm totally going in on this business. I'm going to move to Sioux Falls. And so I moved to Sioux Falls from Pierre for this business that we hadn't even started yet. And and my whole family was like, "Oh my god, she's nuts." But I ended up having a blast. So I'm fine with it. Like take risks. You might as well when you're in your early 20s, you know.
Yeah, I don't
Absolutely.
know how we skipped over that whole part. Caitlin moved from Pierre to Sioux Falls when we were first starting and doing pop, and then
I don't
moved
know.
back
It
when
sounds
we
like a
made
bad
it.
idea sometimes.
Sometimes it's good to be an underthinker because you can't like worry about what you should probably worry about, you know. But then sometimes it's great to have Morgan who's like, okay, actually, bank, we have this plan and this plan and this plan, even though you've just ripped my heart out. We're still gonna go forward with plan number 4. Like,
Yes.
right?
I was gonna say sometimes I think about it for her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, she does. And I'm fine with that. Like, um, but whatever. Um,
Well, so you guys, okay, so are you still living by Sioux Falls, Caitlin? Not that it like.
no, I live in Pierre where
Oh
the
yeah,
collective is.
right,
Yeah.
right. So
Yes.
you moved back, but um, you know that time that you spent in Sioux Falls, I'm sure was very valuable for just connections.
Yes. We got to become part of quite a few cool things. You have a lot more pop-ups over there, so we were able to kind of establish um, a customer base out there, and we became members of the Sodak 350 group, which Morgan is very involved in still to this day. And we are even for our Earth Week special of our orders and stuff, and our store sales will be going to Friends of the Big Sioux River in the Sioux Falls area. And so, yeah, we've made a lot of connections down in Sioux Falls that I really am grateful for.
Friends of the Big Sioux River, such a good shout out, such a good organization. If you don't know them, go Google now. That's so cool. But I mean, you know, it's a big state. Like you compare it to, I don't know, anywhere on the East Coast. Like we are a big state. We are spread out, and
Mhm.
just one person mentioning your name can really elevate your business, which is so crazy to me. But you guys have gone from Pierre to Sioux Falls to Pierre, and now you have all of this connection. So do you still do pop-ups in Sioux Falls, or are you more so based in your brick and mortar?
We would love to do more pop-ups in Sioux Falls, but something that we've had trouble with as kind of a new business or something that a challenge we're not really taking on at the moment is trying to keep our inventory straight from the brick and mortar to pop-ups. And so at this point, we're really focusing on the brick and mortar and then our online orders. The brick and mortar also makes it a lot easier for the refillery model. We were lugging all of those jars and refillable products to all the different pop-ups and markets, which is a little bit more difficult. So yeah, maybe at some point, but it's right now the collective and our online orders are serving us well.
If it's not broke, don't
Mhm.
fix it, right? And I've lived the pop-up life, I've lived the artist life, I get it. I've broken a lot of things transferring them from booths to cars. So, when you're talking about these handmade products, these clean products, they are costly, and so you don't want to worry about that transition. But I am excited to know, yeah, that you can order online. So even if we can't make it to Pier, we can still support. But yeah, I guess, is there anything else that you would like somebody who's just starting on their entrepreneurial story, just a bit of advice to give them?
Hmm.
Mine always and forever will be to pick up the phone. I think that in the beginning, like when Caitlin and I were first meeting, I was calling everywhere that I thought might have a lick of information on how to do what we were trying to do. And I was calling like the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, anyone, I was calling them. The Department of Health, um, people in Sioux Falls. I think that even though it can be intimidating, it does two things. A, it's helping you gather information, and B, you're also really learning how to communicate what you're trying to do. There's no better way to try to form that elevator pitch and form that business idea than having to communicate it to someone and make sure that they understand. So I think just talk about it and dive right in is my suggestion.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, I think mine is like life is not linear. So even if you do have like a business model in mind and you have the whole 10-page paper like for the banks and everything, that if you get told no, you should just keep going anyway a lot of the time. Like just reroute and replan, and it might actually be better than what you were planning in the first place. So, take those hits and learn from them and go from there, really, is my big takeaway from this business so far. Hmm.
That's such great advice. That's so. It's like you're speaking to my soul. I completely understand the struggle. I completely get it, and I've had so many doors shut in my face as well. So like, the blessing in disguises that those are,
Mhm.
it's really weird. You're like, okay, universe, I know you got me. Thank you for that. And then again, the picking up the phone and talking to people you probably wouldn't normally talk to is
Mhm.
such a scary thing when you're starting out, especially if you're introverted, and you're just used to emailing or messaging. But oh god, the opportunities you can get from one phone call. Like, look at you two. You two are here. You've started a business. You didn't even know each other. That's insane. That's such a great story. I, I just,
Crazy story.
I applaud you guys. It's not easy. It is not easy to run a business, to have a brick and mortar, and to, trust other people around you to help bring your mission to fruition. So I applaud you both. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone listening is interested in kind of learning more, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and you can look at our website too, the Mindfill SD on all of the above.